Have you ever watched the babies learning how to crawl? First, they wriggle about on the floor, usually on their backs, but then they drag themselves forwards and lift themselves up to stand. You see, that simple motion of moving forwards and upwards is the most basic direction of progress that we humans understand. We even tell it in our story of evolution as well, from our lolloping ancestors to us, the upright Homo sapiens. So I guess it makes sense why we so readily believe that economic progress will take a very similar shape. This ever-rising line of growth. And for a long time, economics has told us a very similar story. That growth doesn't just happen, but comes from a process where the old ways of doing things are replaced by new ones, where some industries rise and others fall. Over the next couple of minutes, I want to take you through three things. First, I want to explain to you what Schumpeterian economic growth is, and why, in the age of AI, it is breaking down. Second, I want to walk you through what the Solow paradox is, and why it tells us that we have less time to wake up than any other generation in history. And third, this is the bit which most people aren't talking about. A Nobel Prize-winning economist has already told us exactly what we need to do. So, ladies and gentlemen, the prescription is written, but will we, the people, take the medicine? My name is Shiva, and I am an academic researcher in economics, and today I'll be zooming into the economics behind AI. In the early 1900s, the Austrian economist Joseph Schumpeter coined the term creative destruction. The idea that long-run economic growth is driven by continuous innovation, where entrepreneurs simultaneously create something new while destroying something old. And at its core, Schumpeterian growth isn't smooth or gradual. It's disruptive by nature. And to understand what that means, consider this example. In the late 1800s, the horse and buggy was the most widespread use of transportation, employing a huge number of businesses and workers. From the people who took care of the horses, to the blacksmiths who built the mechanical wheels, to the leather shops that built the equipment. But one day, an entrepreneur came, and he replaced the horse with an engine. As he continued to innovate more and more, his profits grew and prices fell, leading to the overall demand for the horse and buggy to collapse, while the demand for the automobile to skyrocket. As a result, stables started laying off workers, leather shops switched to building car seats, and blacksmiths, they started to make engines, leading to a transfer of resources from the horse and buggy industry to the automobile industry. So what makes this framework so powerful is its consistency. It wasn't just the automobile. The same happened with electricity, the internet, the telephone. Every single time a new technology entered the economy, the same Schumpeterian cycle repeated. Jobs disappeared, new ones emerged, and humans filled them in. But underneath it all sat one assumption that none of us thought to question. We had always thought that technology could replace the physical work that our bodies could do. But we assumed that none of them could touch what our minds could do. Until now. Artificial intelligence is not like the technology that came before it. Remember, the automobile replaced the horse, but not the driver. The calculator replaced arithmetic, but not the mathematician. So since the beginning, the job transfer has always been from human to human, from one to another. But now, for the first time, that very same transfer is going from human to AI. Jobs are disappearing as they always have. But now, when we look on the other side to find new roles, AI is already there, waiting. The cycle that sustained human prosperity for over 200 years is now failing. The thing is, AI doesn't just automate tasks. It reads legal contracts, analyzes financial data, diagnoses medical images, and writes code, all without human assistance. In fact, in 2023, a Goldman Sachs report estimated that AI will be able to automate tasks equivalent to 300 million full-time jobs globally. Not in a century, but this decade. So, it's no surprise that the question is slowly switching from which new jobs will replace the old ones to whether humans will be needed at all. Well, luckily for us, history gives us a clue to answer this. In 1987, the renowned economist Robert Solow looked at computers transforming every office, every business, and every industry, and then said something that stopped economists cold. You can see the computer age everywhere, except from the productivity statistics. Let me explain. Productivity is basically how much an economy produces per unit of work. And when it rises, wages improve, living standards increase, and businesses produce more. Yet, in the 1980s, despite the computer being everywhere, productivity had barely moved. Robert Solow had identified something that economists now call the Solow paradox. When transformative technology exists across an entire economy, yet its benefits remain invisible on paper. But economists knew this wasn't unusual. The steam engine took 80 years to show improvements in living standards. Electricity took 40. And computers, they ended up taking 20. So each time, economists said, don't worry, just be patient, the rewards are coming. And eventually, they were right. So when AI came around, you guessed it, they said the exact same thing. But you see, I had a problem with that. Every previous transformation gave society decades before the productivity surge hits. And those decades matter. Because a productivity surge isn't just good news. It means disruption. Industries restructure, jobs vanish, and entire professions get redefined overnight. So, the only reason society was able to survive before is because we had time to prepare, time to retrain our workers, time to build safety nets, time to write new rules and regulation. But now, AI isn't giving us that time. The 2025 AI Index report by Stanford University reported that global investment into AI has exceeded $1.6 trillion. 1.6 trillion. And now researchers are estimating that the productivity surge is going to arrive in not 20, not 10, not even 5, but 3 years. This means chaos is arriving before we are even prepared. So mark my words, the lawyer reviewing contracts, the accountant running audits, the software engineer writing code, and the surgeon reading scans. These are not low-skilled jobs. These were jobs that generations of people were told were safe. But sadly, these are exactly the kind of jobs that AI is coming for tomorrow. According to a group of Oxford University researchers, 47% of US jobs are at a very high risk of getting automated by AI. And the majority of those are high-skilled, cognitive, white-collar jobs. And to make matters worse, a couple weeks ago, a friend of mine asked me, Shiva, the economy looks fine though. So why does it feel like everybody's worried about their job? And honestly, it stopped me in my tracks. Because the answer isn't really simple. So listen carefully, as this is probably the only time you're going to hear this. The economy can still be booming, yet your career can still disappear at the same time. In fact, that is exactly what's happening right now. Economists call it decoupling. When the economy can produce more, we need fewer people to do it. Normally, when GDP grows, jobs follow. But now, thanks to AI, companies can produce twice as much with half the amount of workers. According to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, America's job growth in 2025 was the weakest outside of recession in over 2 decades, all while GDP stayed strong. So clearly, the economy is still growing, but it's growing without you. The Solow paradox has told us that technology takes time to make an impact. So when this productivity surge hits, and it will, the question is, whether will you still be valuable? But I want to lead you with something more than just a warning. If you can do one thing today, let it be this. Start upskilling now. Not tomorrow, not next year, not when it feels urgent, but now. However, even if every single one of you in this room does that, it might help you survive over the next couple of years. But it won't be sufficient. Because you have to understand that this isn't a personal problem. It's a structural one. And structural problems need structural solutions. We are the first generation to truly see this transition happen in real time. And sadly, we might be the last one with a genuine chance to fix it. Which is why earlier this year, I sat at a lecture theatre at the London School of Economics and listened to Felipe Alcior, the Nobel Prize winner of 2025 in economics, where he laid out exactly what needs to happen. And what struck me was how clear the solution is. Basically, there's 3 pillars to this, 3 conditions that decide whether a country can harness the technological revolution or gets destroyed by it. The first pillar is competition. Right now, only a handful of companies like Google, OpenAI, and NVIDIA control the entire infrastructure which the entire AI economy is being built on. They invested the fastest, they invested the earliest, scaled the fastest, and now are using this advantage to make it harder for everyone else to catch up. And when this happens, the Solow paradox we were talking about, the Solow paradox we were talking about before, fails. Because new entrepreneurs can't enter the market. So new jobs aren't created. So the benefits of AI permanently sit with these top companies. To fix this, governments need to step in as referees. They need to prevent dominant firms from buying out all its competitors and break down monopolies before they grow. The second pillar is flexi-security, a model developed in Denmark, which solves a problem which every single country and economy faces. How do you let companies adapt to new technology without mass unemployment? Well, Denmark's answer to this was flexi-security. Make it really easy for companies to restructure to new technology, but at the same time, guarantee any worker who loses their job 90% of their previous income, plus fully funded retraining for up to 2 years. The flexibility is for the companies, and the security is for us. So, the result, Denmark sits below 5% unemployment and remains as one of the most competitive economies in the world. This idea also directly solves our second problem, as it buys society the breathing room to prepare and to write new rules and regulations that this collapsed timeline has taken away. Now, the last pillar is education. If humans still want to stay relevant alongside AI, we need to be equipped for skills that AI can't replace, like communication, judgment, and creativity. Education isn't just about individual survival. Education isn't about individual survival. It's also about who gets to define our future. If our system keeps producing graduates for jobs that are already disappearing, we don't just lose out on workers, we lose out on the next generation of entrepreneurs, inventors, and problem solvers who could have created the jobs that don't just exist yet. Competition, flexi-security, and education. Not three separate policies, but three interlocking ones. And the blueprint could not be any easier. But sadly, no country in the world has all three. And that is what keeps me up at night. Now, before I leave, remember that baby learning how to crawl? We watched it take every step, watching it grow. We clapped, we laughed, and we smiled. I'm 17. And my generation, I don't think we can make our next step because nobody thought to build the floor beneath us. Thank you.